Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is a CZ S2 Ti 9mm suppressor for the Scorpion PCC/SMG. Scorpion Micro. Lose a lot of real estate because the barrel's shorter, so you have a shorter rail. Throw a suppressor on it, hand placement, things like that can become an issue. You don't want to burn your digits if you're going to run high round count. CZ does make suppressors, which most people don't know. They make one specifically for the Scorpion K, the shorter version of the Scorpion. And since I liked the Scorpion so much, I decided to get another one. I wanted a K configuration. My plan was to get a can that was going to be living on it, native to it, never going to come off unless I'm cleaning it, and I was going to go ahead and get a longer rail. This one came with the HB Industries rail, and this suppressor is designed to give you a compact, to maintain the compact nature of the Scorpion K while giving you a full-size titanium suppressor. So I wanted to pick one up just because, well, you know, why not? CZ makes a suppressor. This is a CZ gun. You know, maybe it's a marriage made in heaven. I wanted to put the two together and see how well that worked out. One of the things that initially appealed to me about the can is it's lightweight. You know, just over 9 ounces, titanium material for 9mm. That's going to be great. Diameter's good. Obviously, it has to be able to fit inside the rail. And it has a over barrel type design, meaning the suppressor threads on at a much later period when you put it on. So some of the suppressor comes back over the barrel to give us a shorter overall length, which is a big selling point for me because I want guns to stay as short as possible. And usually when you throw a suppressor on something, if it was short, it's not short anymore because a lot of your suppressors start 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 inches, depending on what we're talking about. So that was something that definitely appealed to me. It is a direct thread. There's no interfacing, no muzzle devices, nothing like that. So you go ahead and throw it on. Maybe use some rock set if you're going to leave it on there for a while. Use a strap wrench or a wrench strap, depending on what part of the country you're from and how you're going to say that. And you go ahead and tighten it down really good, and then there you're good. You're good to go. First problem I had with this suppressor isn't so much the suppressor's fault. It isn't the rail's fault. It's just an issue of dimensions. This is an M-LOK rail. You're probably familiar with how M-LOK looks, and if you're not, you can Google it. This is a suppressor. I have very little rail space available, or I should say room, almost no room, between the suppressor and the rail itself. Meaning, as you can see, I have no M-LOK accessories mounted on either side of this gun because I can't put any on it. I get it. That's going to be a thing. Disappointing, though. It did change the way that I had to mount the accessories. I put lights on everything because guns get lights for the same reasons that guns get sight. That's my personal philosophy. If and ever I need to use a firearm in a low-lit environment, I want to have the ability to see because I'm not going to be able to just stay in the dark and see better. It doesn't work that way. So I had to mount everything 12 o'clock to the rail, and then of course, you know, obviously I was able to run my M-LOK accessories down here. I got an M-LOK VFG right here, but on the side, your 9 and your 3 o'clock, you really just can't mount anything. There's just not enough room, and you do not want those M-LOK nuts pressing against the suppressor, which could cause the can to be non-concentric and give you baffle strikes. So definitely do not even try to mount anything to the sides. That'd be my advice that I'd give anybody who asked. So with my expectations lowered slightly because I wasn't able to mount things the way that I wanted to mount them, I went ahead and got my rain. I got a Cloud Defensive Rain micro that I mounted on with pressure pad. I was still able to activate everything. No big deal. It does create some issues with manipulating the charging handle just because I feel like the handle on this gun should be a little longer anyway. But no big deal, there's aftermarket solutions for that. I went ahead and got into the 2,000 round review process. Pretty straightforward with suppressors. Very first thing I'm going to do is that 500 round Burndown, which is 500 rounds as quickly as possible to see if any problems develop that I wouldn't notice with the same round count over a much longer period of time. So we're going to get the gun really hot, very unrealistically hot. Probably the most unrealistic thing I do in my reviews to see if any problems develop. So here's your 500 round Burndown. Since I don't have a select fire Scorpion, that 500 rounds took 3.5, 4 minutes to get the 500 rounds through it. Can got really, really hot, but I didn't observe any issues whatsoever. Mounting didn't come come loose, no baffle strikes. The sound attenuation didn't change. The suppressor has a really good tone. And something that I've noticed from some 9mm suppressors that are made out of titanium or have titanium components is they have, I don't want to call it a ping, but it's almost like a different tone takes place during the report of the suppressed gunshot. And it's noticeable to the ear, not annoying, and it's not like a sharp, loud, different decibel level, but it is something that I've noticed, and it's something I did not experience with this suppressor. So, at least from that first 500 rounds, no issues whatsoever. Continuing with the review, there's not a lot to say. It's a suppressor. It's going to suppress the sounds of the gunshot. How well? When you run subsonics through this thing, it's a really quiet can, and it keeps the overall compact length. I'm not adding much length at all to the Scorpion K over what I would have to do if I left it unsuppressed. Using a more traditional suppressor, I would have a longer overall gun, so I'm saving a couple inches, and that's kind of a big deal if you want something to stay super compact, like it was what my goal was with purchasing the Scorpion K in the first place. I've got just enough real estate for a support hand grip and some accessories, but if I throw a suppressor on there, now it's almost the same length as a Scorpion, the regular Scorpion. That's not something I wanted to do. So I wanted to go ahead and throw this suppressor on there and keep that length short, and I'm glad that CZ provides a solution for that. Over the next 1,500 rounds, I'll use the Scorpion in varied conditions, just practicing shooting a pistol caliber carbine, if that's what you want to call it. It technically isn't an SMG, so that is what we're going to call it. Using it in varied conditions, low light, whatever. The low light muzzle flash on this thing is non-existent, which is pretty much what I expect from a 9mm suppressor anyway, even out of a shorter gun. I'm still not getting a lot of muzzle flash. It does change the recoil pulse. That's something that's definitely worth mentioning. I feel like it actually makes the recoil on the Scorpion K a little bit better, even though the recoil wasn't bad to begin with, because it's just a 9mm. It does make it a little bit more soft. The muzzle, it doesn't have the same rise to it. And I did appreciate that a lot, that it does help aid. It does aid, I should say, in assisting with recoil management on the K model of the Scorpion. One of the things that people are going to talk about is the cost. It's a titanium suppressor, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive anyway, because titanium as a machined material can be a little bit more expensive than, say, aluminum, which you can get away with 9mm, or some steel. They do offer a steel version of this can, which is heavier, but is significantly less expensive. I found this can for just under $1,000, and I would recommend that if you have a Scorpion, especially a K model, you go ahead and just buy it. I say buy it because it's CZ suppressor for CZ gun, and no other 9mm suppressor is going to easily do what this one does. There are other 9mm suppressors that have the same design feature, but this one's specifically intended for the Scorpion K, even though you can put it on the full size if you want, because it has traditional 9mm threading. But I've got that over barrel style design, so the thread pitch starts much later in the suppressor, so I have an over barrel can, if you will. Gives me that overall shorter profile. It has good sound attenuation. You can get it in TI or stainless steel for almost half the price, depending on where you're buying your suppressors from. And if you're really into the Scorpion, and you'll remember if you've watched it, if you're not, you can check it out. When I reviewed the actual Scorpion itself, I found myself loving it and not knowing it why, and I still do. There are some things about it I have to change, like you'll notice on this one, I replaced the OEM grip with the Magpul grip. There are aftermarket triggers available. HBI makes great rails for it. This is a great little backpack gun, or if you need something lighter and more compact based on where you live or what you're doing, makes for a good little home defense rifle as well. I'm sorry, home defense PCC. I don't want to get any comments about that. You knew what I meant. Makes for a handy little compact suppressed 9mm that has a large magazine capacity, if that's something you want. Shoulder supported for increased accuracy, and for the gram factor, it takes good photos, if that's why you buy your guns, for clout. But I like it a lot, and I think that, well, I know that I'll be leaving it on this gun because it's specifically designed for it. Again, my only real complaint, like I mentioned right at the beginning of the video, is diameter to rail, but I get it. Suppressors have to have diameter for volume to actually cause suppression to happen. And you wouldn't want to make a rail ungodly large in diameter just so guys can get some M-lock on it. You do have to mount pretty much all your accessories, except you can get away with your bottom accessories easily because there's a little bit of a trough there, if you will, for the M-LOK to actually interface. But if you try to mount anything up here, it's going to butt up against the suppressor, and I just wouldn't recommend that at all. So you're going to have to go 12 o'clock mounting like I did for the lighting systems. But what else do you really need on a gun? I've got, well, I don't have any backup iron sights, which I'm sure somebody's going to talk about, but I do have a red dot, and I have a very good red dot from a reputable manufacturer, and I'm not really worried about it dying, and I do PMCS my batteries to make sure that my battery life is good. So if I was going to put my life in the hands of this rifle, I was going to carry it or use it or anything like that, I'd go ahead and make sure that battery was, you know, good to go. But it's an aim point. It's a T2. Not super worried about it. I highly recommend this suppressor if you have a Scorpion K or if you even have the full-size Scorpion. I'm Eric with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.